Namaskar, Kailash.
Namaskar, Guruji.
So we're coming up to the last session of the CHT course, and always a good time to recap all the things that we've been through and all the conversations we've had, and sort of make a bridge, a logical bridge from the first three sessions that we did to now the closure of this end of our conversation with the CHTs and the beginning of a new form of the relationship with the CHTs. So with that, Kailash, how would you like to have this conversation?
Yeah, actually, it feels like, when the son is leaving for college or daughter is leaving for college, kind of a mixed feeling, right? They're kind of leaving home. So I kind of get that feeling with this cohort, like others. We've been together for almost 9 months, 10 months now, and we'll maintain a great relationship forward. But still that feeling of something ending, but no, I think like you said, we are now entering a new learn serve cycle as opposed to ending a old learning cycle for that purpose. So I thought we can maybe just you and I can dialogue about how did we get here, and what really have we offered our scholars? What are the expectations of this institution from each one of us? And what are the opportunities and options out there, which are many, as we know? So perhaps we can dialogue along those lines. So if that's okay with you, Gaurav?
Oh yes, yeah, I think that makes sense.
So I can start, I think, by just kind of pondering with you on. So what do we mean by putting the Hindu tradition to work? That is your coinage, and we have very aptly fitted whatever we do into that adage. So you tell us what that means.
Growing up in India, India was a very poor country at the time, to some extent still is. We were all very value conscious. So, getting value for money is very important. And so you always want to use the thing that you bought and not just throw it away, American style. And so the same instinct we're applying to this program, which is we've received this inheritance from our forefathers, hundreds of generations of people that have put together or created this vast body of knowledge that's cultural, religious, spiritual, and health related. All of that is available to us, but we now need to put it to work for it to be of use to us and to future generations. The way I look at this question, I look at it in several slices. The first is, what do we mean by Hindu tradition? What is Hindu tradition? Hindu tradition is a broad term which covers a very wide spectrum of topics. This isn't simply religious dogma or religious set of beliefs that are required, because that's a very short list, and frankly, we don't need to run a long course for it. The Hindu tradition encompasses all of yoga, all of philosophy, all of Ayurveda, all of the ways of celebrating in life, this way of looking at life, the meaning and purpose of life, the ends and means with which we live our lives out, and the way a society should function, what the role of politics and economics and capitalism is in these societies. All of that is covered in the Hindu tradition. That's important to know, because as we went through the course, we talked about it. What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning and purpose of life? We have a lot of insight into that. We have a lot of insight into what is our swadharma, our aims in life. So that's the first part, which is what is Hindu tradition. The second part of the question is, what do we mean by putting it to work? I'd like to answer that in two parts. One, why put it to work? Tradition is a use it or lose it proposition. If you don't use it, then you lose it. It loses relevance and it becomes something that can be taxidermied and put into a museum, and then later exported to the British Museum because they like to keep things created elsewhere. The point is, a tradition must be lived in order for it to be of value, because the richness only comes through from living it. And so that's the first part, which is that this is a use it or lose it proposition. And when we put it to work, in what context should we put it to work? Yes. HCI picked the context, and we said, look, the societies that we're in are we are materially affluent but spiritually deficient. There is a tremendous hunger for spiritual care in the societies that we find ourselves in all around the world. And that hunger for spiritual connection is something that the Hindu tradition has a lot of knowledge and information about.
Yeah, and
And
I think,
so, yeah,
I think I agree, and I think the other beauty is that from my vantage point, we relate. Hindu tradition relates to nature, to every object, to universe. So why not do still stronger relationship to other human beings and connect through this spiritual care kind of an avenue, which is such a significant need anywhere we live. So
yeah.
it's very natural, actually. What you're saying is for the Hindu tradition to be put to work is very natural. It's not something that we're trying artificially.
Yeah,
So
and
so come.
it's a collection of our knowledge of what works already. So this is not force fitting.
That,
This is
that's
it's
right.
designed
So
for
so
this.
so
Hmm.
exactly. So then how did we come to this CHT course from that major kind of a vision and a desire to do that? We said, look, if you have to continue this, you have to have some kind of a course. Is that how we got there?
So going back 5 years, Kailash, when we you and I were discussing what the course is going to be about, we realized that in addition to what we just discussed, there is a tremendous latent desire, latent capacity that we have to serve. Each one of us has a capacity to serve that for many people, most people, I would argue, remains unfulfilled. So imagine having two legs and the capacity to walk, but never being taught to walk. And so learning to serve became the driving force for the creation of the CHT and later the HCP courses, which is this must be taught. We must be taught how to serve. And service isn't from a high to lower person or lower to higher person. Service is just a spirit that we have of service, of each other, higher, lower, equal. It doesn't make any difference. The spirit of service, learning that requires us to understand the context of the other person, requires us to understand how to prepare ourselves for that type of service, and how to take joy and satisfaction from this type of service, which is all I'm basically recounting what the CHT course has been about. We
Yeah.
found that this is a foundation for many possibilities. There are so many things, as avenues where this can be applied. And very frankly, in a very few hours a week, how much time have we spent over the last 24 sessions? 5 to 10 hours a week. That's not a lot of time. You can change your own life and the lives of others, the entire societies, through the spirit of service and the example that we're serving for other people, that they can also feel inspired to serve in their communities.
Yeah, that's good. No, I think that's very good. I think that what we really ensure is, number one, the knowledge is relevant and the knowledge is authentic, because the people we bring in are the experts and the qualified people, and we point it and actually make it applicable in such a way that it's easily understood and hopefully easily applied down the road by others who are learning it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
From your perspective, what has the CHT course given to the graduating scholars?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I think we've been doing this for now 5 years, so we've got a good sense. A lot of feedbacks also have come to us. I think there are probably four things that at least I see that are distinct and kind of unique in some ways. The first one is, like, remember the children were telling us, or the parents, how come you didn't do this course before?
The
You
very
would have
first
been
year, yes, yes.
much better parents. So I think the personal development and growth, that is really so significant. That's the heart of it. You can only do good things only when you are learning something new and all that, and that influences all your near and dear family and friends and whatever have you. I think the knowledge for a lifetime. So, think about geriatric care, palliative care, counseling. I mean, name all the topics. That knowledge, normally our scholars would not have gotten in normal course of their lives. So this detour or this additional thing that they've done, like you said, few hours a week, has given them invaluable knowledge that will serve them well and many other people in well. And the third one is, again, we just repeating the point you made about in the latent desire to serve. We have sort of awakened it. That look, it's here. Learn to serve to learn, and this cycle can go on for the rest of your life. And the most valuable long-term asset that people will realize is that they're becoming a part of the Sangha, CHT, HCI Sangha of 250 people. That's going to grow into thousands as we continue growing. You'll always have access to the people there for their expertise, for the relationships, for problem solving, for celebration. That network, you come in, you don't have to do introductions. You say, oh, I'm a CST class of 2022. Immediately you have spoken it all. You can get to work right away and get to a dialogue. So I think those are the values that this course has imparted to the scholars. Yes.
Kailash, as you see it, what are the opportunities for CHTs wherever they live around the world?
I think that's something that I think we have again evolved and seen now how unfortunately the pandemic slowed down some of the entry points for obvious reasons, but now I think we are wide open. I think there are 4 or 5 very distinct pathways for a CHT to consider. The first pathway that I highly recommend for those who have the desire for long-term second or third occupation and employment even, is to go into the chaplaincy program, which is a brand new one, and that we have a lot of support for it. Consider going into the chaplaincy, and your CST course is a pre-qualification, so you are ready to go. You just have to decide your time commitments and your intellectual, emotional leaning in that direction. So number one is to enter chaplaincy now or later. That's okay, and talk to us. I'm a good contact point for this. Gauravji is also, so that be the person, Gauravji. The second one is to come back and, like you have seen, many of the older scholars, the prior CHD, they're serving as faculty associates. We also have all the leadership positions that we have: registrar, sub-registrar, assistant dean, and tech support, the Moodle support. All these positions, we call them the Kutumbap Journal. They're all managed by officials who are CHDs from prior years. And we always have a succession planning. So you can sign up for any position and we just put your name there. And when the position comes open, we'll invite you to join in. And we make a 2-year commitment and 5 hours a week. I mean, it's very reasonable kind of commitment, but it's very steady and it's very sincere. That is the second one. The third one is you go back to you came from, say, Seva International or some other organization in your whatever location you are in. You now go back and you now serve them with much more knowledge, much more zeal, and you can even change their vision for the better. So you can influence your old non-profit organization that you are associated with. And the next one, if you don't have one, this is what I highly recommend, is now with your CST certificate, you can get registered and I put down the hospitals, your temple outreach services if they have one, or you can start one. Homeless shelters, prison chaplaincy, they have any openings. You can get oriented to do some prison chaplaincy also. Senior home seminars for senior homes, you can easily arrange them. School volunteer services. There's a ton of these where you would now go and you know the protocol, you know the privacy, you know all the things that do's and don'ts are, and you can make a difference in these organizations. So again, chaplaincy training, coming back to HCI, going back to your old organization, or signing up for a new. And then we'll cover in a separate topic, another module of a video we're going to show the class, Gauravji, is how to get on the board of directors. But that's something that's very significant in our community. People should be more interested because that is where you make the bigger impact in any organization. So those are the opportunities that are going to be available for our CSTs.
Here, I wanted to something I just got reminded of something when you're talking about going to your local organization, say the temple or your own, services organization. There is a strong demand to create temple outbound services. So you can go to your temple and just drive home the point that you must have outreach services that you're creating out into the community. And those can be spiritual care services that we have a whole menu. You're prepared for it. We have all the knowledge assets available, and you should go out and ask the temple to list these on the website and make it be known in the community that the temple is now a full service temple. It's not just an inbound temple. We are also an outbound temple. It's the same with the hospital thing, where hospitals need volunteers all the time, and you should offer to complete their requirement, right? Because if you live in a place where there are a sizable Hindu population, you could be assured that that hospital has Hindu patients that have spiritual care needs that are unaddressed. You can go to hospitals even without Hindu patients, of course, but especially if there are Hindu patients and you know that their needs are unaddressed, and the hospital will only be grateful to have you come in and offer to help.
Yes.
And so
I
I
think
think
I
that's
think
important.
I'll go one more step, Gauravji. I think if a CHT, I would challenge our friends that if the CHT is living in a community and there is a hospital nearby, and if they don't have a Hindu chaplain available on call, at least, I think something is wrong.
Yeah.
I'll go that far. If in your neighborhood, if a hospital is seeking some chaplaincy visits and you're not going to be able to support them personally or through other people, then I think you should think about why that is the case
Yeah.
and why you can't do something about it. That's the way I would put that, Gaurav. Now, in terms of so if whatever the people choose now, Gauravji, what do you think are the values and the attributes and the assets that are available to them, all the CHTs for the rest of their life through the HCI connection?
Hmm. I think, Kailash, the learning is not over, and it will never be over because we're always going to be adding new things, and there's always going to be some question that stumps you in the field, and you need to talk to an expert. So, being connected to the network is an important part of the value of being a CHT. Like you said, it's a calling card. You meet someone and you tell them that you're a CHT. If they're also a CHT, they will know exactly what you're talking about, what you've been through, what you know, and therefore there is a sort of kinship. In addition to that, we are HCI is very committed to formalizing our knowledge assets, our video library. Of course, you have your playlist in Moodle. Your Moodle access is there. All those knowledge assets, you have access to those uh, as part of the network. The next is access to these mentors and SMEs. There are always going to be things that you need to ask someone about, and then within the HCI network, you should be able to find those people and ask them questions. The third is, as the supply of Hindu interreligious chaplains increases, then there will be a demand for it, because there is a demand for Hindu chaplains. They just don't know that such people exist. Once they get to hear of it, there will be more demand, and so you can look for recommendations for chaplaincies and jobs beyond that. So if you want to work as a chaplain, the network is your resource to help you find and network to those places. And of course, for if you want to go for chaplaincy, we will make sure that we work at getting as much fellowship as we can from the community to help you get funded partially, at least. So those are the four things that I think are available as part of the network. I think the fifth thing, of course, is the biggest of all, which is the satsang, right? The sangha, the ability to commune with people that are like you, filled with a sense of service. They're all around the world, very smart professionals that are interested in putting the Hindu tradition to work together. So being part of this sangha itself is a source of joy and purpose for the rest of our lives. So Kailash, what's the net of it all?
Yeah, I think the net really, to me, it comes down to remember how we said, look, learn, serve, learn. It is a virtuous cycle. It just continues. Every time you go serve, you come back learning something that you can do better next time, or a mistake you made that you will not make next time. The learn, serve, learn is an amazingly powerful concept for your own and for the community. In a similar way, I look at the relationship between the CHTs and HCI. If the CHTs are successful and they're satisfied with what they're doing, HCI becomes successful automatically. It flows into HCI by virtue of the influences, the feedbacks, and the upstream, downstream CSTs were looking at, saying, "Oh, wonderful! I think we're doing a good job," and new people who come to the program. So it's another virtuous cycle: is CST success and HCI success. So we wish everyone wonderful, and hopefully looking forward to a discussion on session 24th on the closing day, Gaurav.
I'm
Yeah.
always curious in this session because last few years we've done the last session. There are two things that I've always found surprising. The first was that people actually appreciate their homeworks, and while it's hard to get people to get used to the habit because we haven't been in school for a long time, but the reflections that people went through to write the homeworks have always been things that people have commented upon, which has surprised me initially. The second is that people often ask, what am I to do with all this spare time? Because we've got so used to doing these classes that we now appreciate that the time that we're taking out. And my answer is that do not waste this spare time, put it to work by reaching out to your neighboring hospital, temple, all these things we just discussed, and start serving right away. Don't wait for a sign from above or someone reaching out. uh, if you have time, because we know you're going to have time after this, don't let it go to waste.
I
Spend
agree.
5, 10 hours a week.
And by the way, to top it all off, Gaurav, you're going to release that Ohm Dollar
That's right.
project app, and that app is going to allow people to keep track of things, what they did, how long they did, what the value was. It's quite a powerful tool that HCI is going to hopefully release before this graduation happens, right?
Yeah, imagine you're docking your own dollars for life and having a life history of all the good things you've done as part of your will to your children, grandchildren.
Legacy.
This is
And
what,
hand
yeah,
it
your
over to
legacy.
your grandkids.
Yeah, yeah,
What better way to give them a lesson on community service?
yeah.
Well, that's a good discussion. I hope it gets more messages across to the class, and look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Kailashi, and I'll see you on the board discussion conversation as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.